Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 22 Minutes, a conversation with friends and partners of the 22 Sierra Coffee Company. 22 Sierra Coffee Company is a veteran-owned and operated company. Since 2020, our commitment to give back at least $1 per product sold has allowed us to give more than $10,000 to organizations working to improve the health of veterans and first responders. We have partnered with some fantastic veteran and first responder nonprofits over the years, and with us today is one of those partners. We have Will Wisner, I hope I pronounced that right, from the Grunt Foundation. Grunt Foundation was established in 2021. It is a national nonprofit organization committed to providing life-changing resources and experiences to service members, veterans, and their families, with a steadfast commitment to its core values: mental health and wellness, transition and sustainment, food insecurities, and homelessness. Grunt Foundation offers those who served and continue to serve our country their due recognition, honor, and support. Together, we move forward with purpose. I like that tagline right there. We also have, normally it's me on the new format, but we have Patrick Little, founder, co-owner of 22 Sierra. So welcome to the new format, this little different thing that we have going on.
I appreciate the invite.
You're always invited. You could just hop on randomly, I guess. You know, now that you've, well, I don't know. I think now that you've logged on here, you can just log on anytime, because I think you have I think it's like a creator's account or something like that. How's the weather out in Missouri?
It hasn't been too bad. So finally getting a good stretch of days without rain. Normally when it's forecasted to be sunny, it'll rain, but today it was actually forecasted to rain and it's been sunny. So
it looks like it's going to be a cool show, and we are very little about Missouri. I know it's in the middle somewhere, and I've been to. Hey Rosie, I don't know. I might have rode my bike through it, but I just can't remember. I can't remember whether or anything about Missouri. I will come out and I will get the full. I'm always trying to read Missouri experience. That's my goal.
So I can't.
Go ahead.
I can't talk badly about Missouri anymore.
I guess it sounds silly for someone who's not in
business. I guess by where the LLC is registered. It's actually a great state with like great people. I think everyone.
We're starting to do ads on the other podcasts. It's just a tricky
and unless you're going through St. Louis,
sound normal while you're reading something that
there's nothing really else here. I mean, there's
so thank you for coming on the show. Let's start off with a little background about yourself. There's Nelly and the St. Lunatics, if I remember correctly.
There is Nelly.
Yeah, my name is Rosie Gomez. I'm originally from San Antonio.
You know, that's about it.
I moved to Rocktown.
Cool.
Let's I assume
got married to my husband. I worked at the VA 23 years, and
North
he at the time
Carolina
worked
is
for Texas.
I can't think of the guy's name. Who was Hootie and the Blowfish? What was that guy's name?
Darius
which
Rucker?
is
yes, we live in a Darius Rucker music video. It's basically what it is.
Okay,
it's kind of like we're enough near the city that everyone just kind of thinks they're country, but they're not really. But it's still, they all dress like they're at a Darius Rucker's concert. I love it here though. Love it here. We have it's very crafty. Our town has a lot of like it's if you picture Texas, like in your mind, if you picture like a crafty town, lots of brick, lots of exposed wood, small businesses. I love it here.
Forget,
pretty
right?
cool.
We
It's
think
called
we're all
Clayton.
Americans,
Really
we are,
Clayton.
but we forget our country is
all right, let's
so
bring
big
up
that
our guest.
There's cultures
Will Wisner.
within
Did I say that right?
the general
Wisner?
culture of America.
Actually, Wisner.
Did you grow up in Texas?
Wisner. Man, you know what? I've been doing interviews for almost a decade now, and
in what ways did growing up?
it's a 50-50 shot most of the time whether I'm going to get it right, and I always get it wrong. So actually, it isn't 50. It's like 98-2. 98% I'm going to get it wrong.
What really shaped me was
I
just,
will. Well, welcome to 22 Minutes with 22 Sierra Coffee. How are you doing today?
Doing great.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me. I'm also a Missouri native out of St. Louis.
I come from a family of 9 children. So,
Pat, did you know that?
The majority of my brothers served in the military.
I apologize ahead of time.
And then,
but I
like
tend to
San
accidentally
Antonio's
show
military
people's
city,
names,
so
and I know it makes
really
them
just
upset. So if I call you Pat
who I became,
accidentally, it's
who I
like a
became
glitch.
as
I do
deacon
it all
my
the time with
life,
people
and-
named Matthew that want to
and
go with
all
their
the
full name. He knows
advocacy
what I'm talking
work
about because I see
that
this.
I've done, continue to
Yeah,
do.
it's a little
Like
thing there. I want to talk most of this time about Grunt Style Foundation, but I also, as an
deeply
interviewer, I like to
embedded
hear the
in
personal
our
stories
culture, and
of how you
Sure.
ended up
just, again,
working with Grunt
part of
Style
the culture
Foundation.
is
So let's start
the
with
big
that. Let's get a little bit of
military
background. Tell
community
folks
that
who
I
you
live in,
are,
so.
where you
Yeah.
well, we know where you're
Yeah.
from, and
I think
your
I
position at
warned you
Grunt
I like
Style
to go deep
Foundation.
with these things. Who is the
You
most
bet. So
influential?
again, my name is
I
Will
like
Wisner.
to
I
dig
am
out
the executive
who
director for
people
the
are.
Grunt Style
Who is
Foundation.
the most influential person in your life
My
growing up, and why?
road to this point in my life is pretty
My mother.
winding and crazy, I guess.
May she rest in peace,
As I said, I'm originally from
Yeah.
the Ozarks region
why,
of
just the
Missouri. I settled
resilience
here in St.
that she
Louis after I
had
got out of the military at
to
the end of
take care of
2008.
9 children,
I was in the
and
service
really
from
just give up,
1992 until
actually
end
both
of
my parents,
2008.
but
I had 3
just
separate
give up so
MOSs
much of
in the
herself,
Army. I
right?
originally started out
That
as a
selfless
combat
service,
medic
that
and
that
reclassed
resilience,
over
that
to the National Guard at the
determination.
end of my first term of
My
service
brother
as
died
a
at
biomed
a
tech.
young age, and so
That was
she
about
really, it really took
last
its
year,
toll on her health, and
proceeding up
that's
into
eventually
9/11. As
what
9/11hit, I
was a
rejoined
big cause
the
of her
military
death,
on
is
active duty
just
side. They
the
weren't needing
heartache.
medics or biomed techs at
But
that
Sure.
point, so I
throughout my
reclassed as a
years
Cav
of being
Scout,
raised by such a
and which was
wonderful
fine with me, as I had
warrior
done a
that
good
she
portion of my
was,
time on active duty earlier as a
she
scout
really
platoon
just
medic, so
inspired
it was kind of
us
less
to
duties,
never
I
give
guess.
up,
I kind of running with the
and
same
really
guys,
that, like,
and I
the norm
eventually
was
came
just
back
like,
in,
you
did a
don't,
year in Korea on that
and my
second
father
hitch
too,
there.
right? Was you
From
just
there over
don't
to Fort Knox,
sit
where I
back and
served
let life
cadre,
happen. Like,
the
you have to
Scout
be
Leaders Course in
proactive
the
and keep
16th Cav
going, and
Regiment, and then from there
don't ever
down
feel
to
so
Fort
defeated
Benning,
that you
3rd Heavy
can't get back
Combat
up on your 2
Brigade,
feet. So
3-1
the
Cav.
norm was
So
like she
deployed
never just
with those folks
gave up on
over for
anything, and
15
she just
months, where
kept
I did the
fighting. She's
majority of
such
my
a
time.
fighter
Yeah.
12
such
of
a
those 15
warrior
months is out at Combat
that she
Outpost
truly is
Cache,
my
which
hero.
is
And
out with the
I'm
nuclear
still to this
complex.
day, I say to
So
people and to
between
my children,
all the wonderful
if
yellow
I could
cake
just be a
that
fourth
we
of the
were
person that
exposed
she
to
was,
there,
like,
and no telling what else, just in the
it would be amazing.
normal environmental
Yeah.
Well,
Because she was
toxic
so well
stuff floating
rounded,
around, getting your
right? Like,
food,
with
you're breathing it
everything,
and inhaling it and
patience,
ingesting it when you're eating
diplomacy,
chow in the dirt and all that good stuff.
everything.
I
Sure.
got a lot
Well,
of
I
good
think it's
things
very
inside, well, not so good
cognizant,
things
just because
inside me, I suppose.
I hate to use the term
When
elders,
I
but the way
exited
my
service,
elders treated me growing
started
up,
getting sick
as
around
I'm now in my middle
2013. Really
age,
couldn't
and
put my
I
finger
do
on
things, I'm
exactly
always
what was
thinking back
going
to
on,
the
but I
people
was
in my
aware
life.
of a lot
So
of my other
I think it's
friends, not
important,
necessarily
and I'm
people
very
that I served with,
cognizant
but
how I
certainly
act around
some of those
my
folks that I had
children or
maintained
my
contact
nieces and
with
nephews,
during my
because
deployment
it is important, even
time.
though things might seem
We're experiencing
like
weird things, but
trivial
just
at
a
one
large, broader
point,
spectrum. It
especially
was
for a
kind of these
child. It
same
actually,
stories over and
you
over.
are
A lot of
setting the seeds to
respiratory
who these people
issues,
are
a
going to
lot of
be
weird
when they grow
illnesses,
up.
strange
So I think
cancers,
it's,
these types
yeah.
of things. Got
Okay.
interested in that.
Oh, go ahead.
I'd gone back to school at
Absolutely.
that
No,
point
I was just going to say
with the
absolutely.
GI Bill, post
I just
9/11
want to
GI
touch
Bill,
on one last thing there
and was
that
able
Sure.
to
I tell my children, and like
ride
from
that
what you
up
just
to
pointed out
graduate
on,
degree, got my master's in nonprofit
I said
management,
you
so
would
I
be
could
doing such a
engage this issue of
disservice
military-related toxic exposure
and
illnesses.
dishonor
So
to
I'd started
your
out with
ancestors
the
generations
Sergeant
back,
Thomas
because
Joseph Sullivan Center
everything
in
they
Washington,
built
D.C.,
was for
and I
this
really
day
got my
today.
chops
And if
Absolutely.
you give up
there for
and
this type
don't
of
honor
work.
them that way, then
They had closed down
it
and
would
went to
all
more of a
just have been
private
a waste of
foundation
time for
model,
them. So
where they
honor
were
them by
doing more
continuing that
grants
legacy. So yeah, you're
facilitation
absolutely
for
right.
You read my
really
brain as I was writing these
educational
questions, and I
institutions that
guess
were
maybe that
providing
means I wrote
research
them correctly.
opportunities
But the
to
next one
really
is: are you familiar
contrast the
with
research that was
the
coming out of the
butterfly
Veterans
effect?
Administration in this
So
issue
the
of
idea
toxic
is
exposures,
so the idea
specifically
is a
burn pits,
butterfly in
which
North
I didn't
Carolina
really
flaps
deal
its
with all
wings,
that
and there's
much
a
while I was
negligible
overseas,
wind,
but
but that
I was
wind
around them
can
occasionally,
cause
Fob
a
Rostomeyer and Fob Hammer.
cyclone in
But
Bangladesh, right? It's like one
yeah,
square that
primarily
lets
the
to a big
toxic
event.
exposure stuff that I was dealing
Considering
with was
Burn
really,
Pits
from a
360, the
nuclear
work you
site.
guys are doing,
I
the
transitioned away
organization in
from
of itself, what do
that
you
work
think
in
was that
DC
first
and became a
inconsequential
consultant in the nonprofit world,
thing that
really
made
needing
it
to
grow to what
focus
it is today?
and sharpen that tool set on development work and fundraising,
I think it's
which
that,
was,
like,
it's
my
hard.
childhood,
I'd
right?
had,
Like,
of
my
course, had those
father,
types of
he was
classes,
born
as
in
part of that program,
Zacatecas, Mexico, but
but
he came from a very
learning about it
deep-rooted
and
kind of
engaging in
like,
it are two different things,
you
and
don't,
trying to engage in it from
it's
a
black or white.
position a
There's
little
no in
higher in the
between, and
organization, even if
there's
it
no
was a
Sure.
small
magenta. There's
nonprofit.
no nothing like
That's quite a
this or
load,
that.
and so I really needed
And then
to
it was
work on that.
always
So
for
I
him like,
went into the private
no,
sector
like, you're not gonna
as a
just sit
consultant,
back and you don't get
and
to choose,
ran a
like,
lot of capital
you just
campaigns
keep going, pressing
for
forward.
a
So
variety
I
of
think
institutions, everything
those
up from the
values that
Archdiocese of the
that I was
Catholic Church of
raised
Detroit to
when I saw
Diocese
my
of Rapid City, South
husband
Dakota.
just
I've
so
lived on
deeply
Indian
affected
reservations
by
out in
something that
Rosebud
was like
and
the
Pine
unknown,
Ridge,
uncharted
working
territory.
campaigns out
I
there.
just sort of knew
And
at that
from
moment, like,
during that time, was serving on the board of directors for another organization called Burn Pits 360. So I was trying to give back my skill sets that I was gathering and developing at the time, trying to help support that mission, which, was pretty near and dear to my heart at that point already. Somewhere along that way, about 3 years ago, we had partnered with Grunt Style in hopes of really utilizing that large platform that Grunt Style had to use as a way to get the word out to all these veterans. Most veterans aren't really aware of the level of toxicity that is probably within them. So our mission was really focused on getting the awareness out.
I want to ask something on that really quickly for you. So, like previously, when we think of all the basically all the wars prior to the global war on terror, we had names for a lot of these syndromes that popped up, and then it turns out we were wrong about most of everything, and we started getting these really since the first Gulf War. We started getting all these weird syndromes coming out that it was very hard to pinpoint what was going on. And again, not to trash talk the VA or anything like that, but they were just kind of treating with what they knew, and that was controlling the symptoms and throwing medications at it. And we've seen it with traumatic brain injury, we've seen it with post-traumatic stress, we've seen it with burn pit exposures, we've seen it with chemical and toxic material exposures. Are we making leeway into this? Are we making improvements? Is the VA and the government saying, okay, we need to start paying attention to these basically unseen injuries and taking care of these guys that, these people might have been out for 5 years completely healthy, and suddenly they have a rare lung cancer that, it goes beyond the odds that they should catch it. Are they treating these things?
It was actually going to be put on.
I would say where the progress has been made is in the acknowledgement that there is an issue. And I think the progress that we've made has been in the area of veterans recognizing that this is something they need to pay attention to and take seriously. Outside of that, I don't know that we're much further down the tracks of where things need to go. All those issues that you had expressed earlier, from PTSD to whatever, I think they're all related. In fact, I think that a good amount of post-traumatic syndromes that we see, post-traumatic stress syndromes that we see, is really a result of toxic exposures. Methylquin neurotoxicity is a big one that is not widely known or understood. While I was out in DC, I had the privilege of working with a guy, Dr. Remington Nevin, who was Johns Hopkins physician. He's a researcher. He's the foremost authority on methylquin neurotoxicity. And if you were deployed, not everybody had this experience, but it was a lot more common, earlier on, where we have what we call Methylquin Mondays, where the platoon medic would hand out these anti-malarial pills called methylquin. Generally, you would have some kind of weird sleep disturbance while taking that, weird dreams, bizarre dreams. Well, it turns out there's quite a spectrum with the impact this thing has. This stuff typically impacts about 13% of the population that takes it. That just means that, for every 100 people that take the pill, 13% are going to have some kind of reaction. If you were to make that a scale on 1 to 10, 1 would be something like, I had bad dreams during the portion of time that I took it, all the way up to the 10, which would be, I have full-blown audio-visual hallucinations that just will not turn off. Kind of the middle of the road area in there, that 5 to 7 kind of a range on that scale, is really post-traumatic stress type symptoms. And so I firmly believe the reason that we have so much of post-traumatic issues in the global war on terror era veterans is related not maybe just to methylquin, but all these types of neurotoxins. These symptoms manifest anxiety and sleep problems and emotional irregularity, everything that you think of when you think about post-traumatic stress.
It's you're right. I've been working really close with a couple nonprofits. I'm in medicine myself, and I've worked with a doctor out of California specifically who treated me, and that you're exactly right. What it tends to be. So here's the really amazing thing is that some people who have pure psychiatric injuries, call it military, pure PTSD, we'll call it, from like military sexual trauma or, combat or whatever, you're seeing the same chemical issues, the neuroinflammation in the brain. It's just by any other name. So whether it's a toxic material, whether it's manning a 50 cal for 20 years, which I don't know if you can do that for 20 years, but these repetitive injuries cause destroy the neuropermissive environment, and people have this litany of symptoms. And what's amazing about this is when you start controlling those symptoms, or when you start bringing that inflammation down and creating a neuropermissive environment, the symptoms disappear. It's really amazing. And the good news is, organizations, you brought up Burn Pits 360, Grunt stuff. All these organizations have big names and big voices are starting to, I guess, catch the ears of the people that are going to make a difference, the ones who are in charge of the VA, the politicians, and they're seeing that people are in fact doing better. Because what's the other alternative? You mask the symptoms with drugs, and I've been on them. I was on a cocktail of maybe 12 different drugs, and I felt worse at 30 than I do now in my 40s.
Absolutely. In fact, that is a large focus of ours at Grunt Foundation. Is we are giant advocates for alternative healing modalities. When you're asking about what progress has been made, in this arena, and I said not much, except for by way of awareness, that speaks exactly to what you're talking about. It's not just the VA that wants to treat with pills. This is becoming more and more prevalent even in the civilian healthcare side.
Oh, absolutely.
Big Pharma writes the textbooks. Right?
Sure.
Trains these doctors when they're going to medical school. So it's almost like a flow chart. You come in, I have this symptom, is it this? Then go to here. If not, go to there.
We don't know.
But it ultimately always lands on a pill, that they prescribe. And oddly enough, I'll be damned. It just so happens that those pills they want to provide is provided by the same folks that are buying these guys steak dinners once a week at the hospital. And that's just kind of how the game is played. What I am a firm advocate of is functional medicine. I believe that is the way to actually engage and treat these problems. And that's just simply these functional medicine practitioners. The hard part about this stuff is it's not very accessible, right? Insurance is generally not covering what the services of these folks. But really what they're doing is they're trying to, number one, identify the root of the problem. That's something that is not happening in ordinary day-to-day healthcare.
Not just with burn pits,
once you identify what is the root problem, you can address that. You want to resolve that. So, it's like a lot of people I talk to, have different issues. One that you see in our community, in the warfighter community, is erectile dysfunction. Well, guess what? You don't have erectile dysfunction because you're lacking in some, vitamin Viagra. So therefore, take more vitamin Viagra, and that's going to cure your problem. There's some other kind of root issue that's in play. That if we can identify that and treat that, you're going to get much further along. And that's a large part of my own personal journey, not the erectile dysfunction, thankfully, but just the getting down to what it is.
Cancer of the
Well,
sinus.
you definitely want to work that in.
And most importantly,
Definitely,
what we've discovered is
identifying what
something
is
called
inside of
toxic
us, right? So,
encephalopathy, which is
a great place to start. This
damage
is
to
the
the
program
brain
that we're setting up
due to
with the
inhalation
foundation.
of
Is
effects
this
of combustion burning,
holistic
right?
healing type
So,
approach.
what we
And I'll break down the
even through
process
my
for you
own
very quickly
husband's,
for the benefit of anybody listening.
brain scans,
If you can
is
get into a
that
functional medicine
it's
provider or
damage
even
to
through a
the
healthcare
brain,
provider that's
very
willing
similar
to
NFL players.
get you
with
a toxicity test,
Wow.
right? You can
So
do
that
a heavy
leads us
metals
to believe,
toxicity
that's
test in
why
your
we have
hair,
the 22
and you can
suicide
do a
rate.
non-heavy
When it
metal
got the
industrial
scan,
chemical
because
test through the
you're
urine.
talking about
That's going to tell you pretty much
police,
what's in you
former
and in
state
what amount
police,
that it's in you. And depending on the
former Army
provider that
captain
you're using, they go so
commander,
far as can
graduated,
tell you
summa cum
normal
laude
sources of where you
class
may get these
with
things. For instance, you'd
memory
be surprised to
loss,
find out most
attempted
Americans have a
suicide,
very high amount of
and
flame
it
retardant
just none of it
that's going to
made
come up
sense.
in
You know
that
what I mean?
industrial
Because
chemical
you had
side.
the,
And the reason for that is because it's federally mandated that
the
every
cognitive
mattress sold in the United
purpose
States is
impaired and all
treated
these
with
things that I was
flame
like,
retardant chemicals. So
we
as you
need
sleep
answers.
on your
And so
mattress
that
at
really
night,
gave us
you
a
are
good
absorbing these
snapshot
things
of
in
like
your skin.
what
And
it
this
is
is
we're
getting
dealing
into
with.
you
So
have
absolutely, just
neurotoxicity
like with
type
the World
effects.
Trade Center.
So yeah,
And we're
step one is get
trained,
those
in the
toxicity
Western
tests,
model of
figure out what's
medicine,
in
which is
there.
think inside the
Step
box.
two
What
is
do the
get them
books
out.
tell you? What does
There
the past tell
are
you?
different
And they
chelation
really,
programs,
and maybe
chelation
they're starting to change
programs,
it now. I've been
natural
at
supplements
PA
that
school over a
bind to
decade,
these
but
toxins.
maybe
You
they're
can,
starting to tell
once they're
people to think
loose, you
outside
got
the
to get
box.
them out
But
of you.
I
Well,
can
you're
tell
gonna.
you with
The only way to
certainty
get toxins out of you is
that
you
a
can
lot
sweat
of
it out,
people
you can piss it out,
that I
or
treat,
you
if
can
we
shit
do
it out.
an
That's really
anti-inflammatory,
about
if
it.
we get
So once you're on that, these supplements to start breaking this stuff up, for $375 off of Amazon, you can buy a portable infrared sauna. It's a tent with a camping chair in it. It's got heating pads and an IR light. This stuff will penetrate down about 6 inches into your body. Once these toxins are free floating around in your body, they're easier to sweat out. Going out and working in your yard, I know this is true for me. If I go out and clear the brush, and I come in dripping with sweat, I can towel off, take a shower, the towel's on the floor, I can go get dressed, do whatever, come back, pick up my bathroom, the towel smells, like what you'd expect from that type of sweat, like a gym locker room. If I go and sit in my sauna for 30 minutes, and I pour sweat and I mop off and I go shower and come back an hour later, it's going to smell like chemicals. So that is the best way to get those things out. The next step in that chain is hyperbaric oxygen therapy. There's hyperbaric oxygen regenerates tissue. It stimulates stem cell growth from your bone marrows. It can even lengthen your telomeres. Which is, can slow down aging.
Yeah, I think
these things work. I myself went through this a year ago, did a 3-month super duty detoxification protocol, including hyperbaric, down at a wonderful facility called North Star Hyperbaric in Tucson, Arizona. I went into that thing 45 pounds heavier, walking on a cane. I did not have any flexibility in my Achilles tendons because I had 2 surgeries. From my time in the service, if I had to go upstairs, I had to walk, waddle up sideways to get up there. And my kidneys and my liver were both shutting down. And the VA was, have a pill, it's in your head, it's asthma, it's somatoform, it's moral compass injury, it's all these different psychological things that they're not physiological.
They feel alone.
But going through that process, everything I told you how I went into it was reversed when I came out. In fact, I was actually in the early stages of dementia about a year ago. And my cognition is greatly improved. That decline was arrested and reversed. Now, as I mentioned, I had those problems with my heels. The hyperbaric has regenerated, I guess, for lack of a better word, all that tissue and those tendons. Now I can stand on my tiptoes, jump up and down, and do jogs. No longer on a cane. So this stuff is great. And what we are doing is to try to bring awareness to this is we are giving away 1 hyperbaric oxygen chamber a month, every month through 2022, targeting those veterans that are dealing with issues of military toxic exposures that have been denied care from the VA. So our effort is to do that which the VA cannot or will not do.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of the hyperbaric chambers. We're also seeing a lot in the psychedelic realm, especially in Texas, where they just legalized it for research and all that stuff. And here's the thing, we're seeing fantastic results. We're not seeing, a mild decrease in symptoms or anything. We're seeing lives being turned around. People who couldn't function who are now getting advanced degrees, going on to grad school, going on to be entrepreneurs and starting businesses and stuff. So, yeah, I want to get your cell phone when we get off the line here, because this is 90% of my time, which somehow I have 36 hours a day. I don't know how I do it, but during those 36 hours, I work a lot with these functional modalities with a few physicians. So yeah, I would love to pick your brain on that a little bit more.
Happy to do that.
Isolation. Yeah, absolutely. I like to ask this question. So where you are now, right, with Grunt, I forgot what your title is. If someone sees someone in a wheelchair, they don't say,
I'm the executive director. I run the foundation.
Okay, so executive director of Grunt Style Foundation. Big foundation. Everyone knows the Grunt Style symbol. You can't swing a stick in North Carolina without hitting someone wearing a Grunt Style. I couldn't hear you.
No, I said you're right.
Think back to, and it could be anything. It could be childhood. Could be
exactly
when you're in the military. I like to look at the butterfly effect. It just starts the conversation, and the conversation is the first step that you attribute in getting these things out. I mean, you know that the conversation. And I've gotten so many different answers. Is bringing this stuff into the State of the Union address. So you have to talk about it. Yeah. So like
what is the one thing that put it all?
360 says restoration is also part of its mission.
To where I am today.
I guess if I can preface that, to me, if you could boil it down, restoration would mean getting back to baseline, which is a tricky thing because, we'll take people with an amputated leg. There's really no baseline. You can't get that leg back.
And it's nothing
what is restoration for you guys? Is it
time.
getting
I was
healthy?
able
Is
to
it getting
certainly connect the
answers?
dots from where I
Sometimes
sit
people just
now,
want answers.
looking
What is
backwards.
the meaning of that?
And I believe that it was my time in
I mean,
Iraq,
it
or
could
not
be a lot
Iraq,
of
but
things
Korea.
for different, you
While
know,
I
it
was
can
over
be
in
different
Korea,
things
I
for many
was a
people.
gunner on
We
a
also
Bradley.
have
I was
part of
up in
our
Area 1 on
programs that
Camp Gary Owen, which no
now
longer
run, and we
exists, up
can
on the
get a little bit
DMZ.
deeper into that. But
Or I guess it
when
exists, but
we
it's been
when
handed
we
over
were
to the South Korean Rock
gifted
Army.
the
We're no
building
longer there.
for
But
our
you know,
national
we were
headquarters here in the
in
little
the
town
event
that
that
we live in.
siren blew. You know, you had to
We
have your
decided
vehicle
to
prepped and combat
open
ready,
up
rolling out the
the
gate in 15
center,
minutes.
the
Everybody had their
building,
battle
as
drill and
something
assigned
called the
what you're
Border
doing.
Support Center,
Well, in the back of a
where
Bradley, if you've
veterans
never
and their
been in one,
families can
that
come, and there's
25
like
millimeter autocannon that's in that
Xboxes
turret
and
has a big
PS4s,
canvas
there's
bag
computers,
that
and
is designed to
know,
catch the
we do all
exhaust
kinds
that
of
comes
stuff
out. Because every time a
established
round
together.
fires, whether
We
you're
had like a
firing
haircut for heroes
an
day,
M4,
where
a
you know
pistol, a
barbers come
shotgun,
out and
whatever,
cut hair, whatever.
it's up by your face.
We have
You know,
rug
so every time
marches.
that
We do lots of
firing
stuff.
pin hits that
So I
primer,
think, you know,
there's
the
gas that's coming
restoration
out
part,
and powder and all
for
sorts of
many
things that are
families that
toxic,
I've
and you
spoken
breathe it,
to that come
and
out
it gets into you.
to our
In a
center,
Bradley,
is
you know, it's on a
just,
chain gun there,
you
so
know,
that thing's
restoring
chunking
their
those 25
soul with
millimeter rounds pretty quick.
being
That bag
around
is
that
supposed to catch that
camaraderie
exhaust.
and
Well,
being
because
around
of the nature
their
of being
brothers
in
and
Korea, we
sisters
had to
and
have
feeling
that thing
whole
ready to
again.
roll at all
Feeling
times.
like, okay, I can
Those
go
bags,
somewhere
whoever was
where
there
I can
long
go
before
just
me had
play
made that decision to
Xbox
cut
with
those
my
bags out.
kids, or
So there was nothing there
sit
catching
here
the
and,
exhaust.
you
I
know,
certainly
have
never
lunch or
thought
whatever.
about that
So I think
while I
it's
was
like
there. And then, of course, you're going to
restoring
gunnery
self
at least twice, you know, while you're in Korea on a
through
1-year
being
rotation.
around that community,
Plus
right?
all your other normal exposures.
In
I
whatever
really
event it
attribute it
is,
to
if it's an
Korea,
event
just
or if it's
setting
just
in
being
that
there to
cloud
learn
of
about toxic
exhaust.
exposure or
And
whatever.
I was
I
not the
think
same
it
person
means
when I
different
came
things
back.
to different
I
people.
made a lot of really bad
But for me,
decisions. I
you know,
wrecked a
when we
marriage.
said, well, let's do the center,
I was just
had
not me.
to
And
dig deep
it
into
took a
like,
long
what would it
time
mean to
of this
my
type of
family?
destructive
Like, what do
behavior,
I want?
you
Do I
know,
want
after
a
even I
pair
got
of
out of the
socks
military
and a
before I realized,
koozie,
like,
or tickets to a basketball game? Like what?
this is not
Like,
who I
no,
am.
we
You know,
need
the old me died
impactful
somewhere long ago. There's certainly a
programs
portion from war
that are
trauma that happened while in
life-changing
Iraq that changed my life in
that
some
will
ways. But I
restore
think this really
you
probably goes back to that
and
one
give you
time as the
purpose,
root
right? Because it's a little
thing that
cliche,
set
like
everything
people will
else
be
off
like,
in motion.
oh, you know,
It's
we
amazing
sent
that
a
in order
family
to
to a
grow, you
football
have to
game, or we
sometimes
sent it.
get
Yeah, but what
banged up.
happens
And,
after the
you know,
football
I
game?
think about this
What
a
happens
lot.
after
You
the
know,
baseball game, right?
would I have gone back in
So
time and
although those are
prevented my
nice
injury and stayed
gestures,
in
but
aviation and who
we
knows, maybe
needed
been a
something
squadron
more. So I
commander or
think
something like
restoration,
that?
like for my
And
family,
it's a hard answer
is
or hard
how do
question
we
to
stay
ask because
connected?
everything
How
that has
does the
happened to
restoration
me
take
since my
place?
injury has led
And
to
we feel
all
like
these amazing things in my
that
life, you know,
happens
with
through a
kids and
continuation of
helping other
like
veterans. And it's
programs
like, wow, that's
and
such a
events
tough
and to
decision.
stay
So I just say,
connected.
I guess as a fatalist,
and then of course the
things
last
happen
thing
and
is
there's
resilience.
no
What
control
does
over
resilience,
them, and it's how you
mean to
react
and
and it's
mean
how you
to
come out the
burn
other
pit?
side. Because sometimes it's a choice, sometimes it
You know, I
isn't
think
as far as how
the
you do well.
resilience
But
is like, you know, the fact that
let's
we've leaned on
I
each
want to
other
talk
as
too because
families
I just noticed we've been going on
impacted,
for almost a half hour
individuals
already.
impacted.
Let's go through the different
Leaning on
lines
each
of
other, on
your,
each other's wisdom,
I guess,
knowledge,
your mission
experience,
statement with
and just
Grunt Style Foundation. Because
really
I find that
proving
mission
that,
statements I love
you
because
know,
it's your entire organization kind of boiled
that
down
anything
into
can
a
be
few words. And I like
accomplished
writing them and I like
if
reading them.
if
I know it sounds
you
weird, but
believe
so
in the
how does
mission.
Grunt
You are
Style
part of the mission.
Foundation, how
The
are they
mission is
committed to
defined
mental
by your
health and wellness with
experiences,
veterans?
and I feel like
Well,
that's
we
how
have
you
a few different
continue that
programs. So that is
resilient
the biggest
mindset.
umbrella
And I
of
may
all
be
of them.
wrong. I don't
And
know.
really
I
all
could
the other
serve in the
pillars
military.
probably fall under
But
that
what I can say is, like, being the
that
wife
one
of
pillar
someone impacted,
as well.
it sucks. Like,
But
war
primarily with the
sucks.
hyperbaric
And we
oxygen
say the war that
hyperbaric
followed
oxygen
us
therapy
home.
chamber. It's a tongue
You know,
twister.
I've had to
Program
look
that
at
we
war
have
in the
is
face.
our
I
flagship.
have
That is really the
argued
one that we
with
want to bring
war. I've
attention and draw
fought
it
with
to.
war. And
But
I
there's
say
so
that
much more there,
in the
right? We
sense of,
partner
like,
with other
I know who I'm
nonprofits
married,
that are
but
doing great work in this
sometimes
space
the
that
person
we do
I'm
not have the manpower,
battling
the
is not my
resources,
husband.
time to
It's
dedicate to
war.
these issues. So
Yeah,
like a
it's
Reverend
really hard
Warriors
to
is doing
explain
just
unless
wonderful work
you've been there and
in that regard, you know, helping save lives. You know, we rock with them every chance that we get. I am a gigantic fan of Irreverent Warriors. I just love their mission. I love their approach, and I think they're effective. So that's, you know, those types of partnerships. It's not just Reverend Warriors. You know, work with a lot of different groups that are contributing in their own way to that overall cause. So that's one way. We are currently in production of a book, the Smart Book. It's everything that I briefly touched on earlier about how to identify those things that are in you, how to get them out, you know, different treatment options that are available. We call it our Smart Book. You know, just like in the military, it's aimed to be very digestible, very approachable. very accessible, and it will guide a veteran through that process. Step one, here's where you go to get this test. Step two, this is what you do after you have it. Here are the things. There's a great product or a company out there called Cellcore that has a 4 and a 10-month detoxification regimen that you can access. I'm currently going through that particular product's or that particular company's program myself. I'm having a lot of good success with that because this is an ongoing thing. When I got my toxicology test back, I was in the 99th percentile for arsenic, the 98th percentile for antimony. I was in the 78th percentile for or for uranium. So, the only thing that takes care of uranium that I was aware of was pectin and grapefruit seed oil. So, in 5 million years, I'll have it all out of me. So it'll be great. But, this stuff offers a different type of approach. It's promising. So I'm anxious to see what my levels on my uranium look like after completing the 4-month rotation with them. So we want to promote those folks, get people aware, and get them plugged in. There's a lot of other things that we're doing, but that's the big high points on mental health.
I have migraines. You know what's go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think so much comes back to mental health as well. So, Will mentioned it's kind of like the umbrella. I know, and Kevin's going to ask about it, but some of the other programs,
on our website,
so many struggles in daily life can impact mental health as well. Veterans who end up dying by suicide aren't just suffering from PTSD. There could be depression and loneliness and the toxicity, not getting answers. There's so much that falls in. Rolls up under that mental health thing as well. So I like the foundation's approach with how Will mentioned it's an umbrella, right? Like a lot of things roll up under that because so much feeds into
regarding the dioxins. And so
when I was doing research to just come up with some questions and stuff, I read that there's a 20% uptick in suicidal ideation in kids, right? Which scares the crap out of me having kids. Over the past 10 years, somewhere around there, it was somewhere around 10 years. And one of the biggest contributors, they see the uptick begin when social media started getting popular. And it made me realize that we also have a whole new generation. Like the GWAT generation's gone. We're done. I mean, some are still in service, but that we're making room for a whole new generation of soldiers here. And there's stuff that, being an old guy now, I wouldn't even know where to begin with this stuff. It's really around every corner. And I guess that comes to the next thing on the list here. I believe we spoke about, maybe not. Just the wellness part, right? So what does wellness mean? Does it mean going to the gym and deadlifting 500 pounds? Does it mean turning off your phone every day at 7 o'clock and not going near it? Does it mean just breathing, doing deep belly breathing for 5 minutes every day? What does wellness mean to you?
It just depends.
Well, I think all those things could certainly fall under that category. I was certainly not well for a long period of time.
I was certainly not well.
I was willing to try anything and everything that came down the way. You mentioned psychedelics as part of therapy. I have drank more than my share of ayahuasca, setting in ceremonies with witch doctors and shamans, all of those things, and it was tremendously effective for me. It gave me the perspective to own my shit, right? Like give you clarity on what the steps are that can always be tricky to find that peace, to find that wellness within you. To me, that's what it means. It's a 3-part recipe. It's definitely a physical thing. Like you said, the exercise is certainly important. Taking care of yourself and getting healthy, detoxing and working on that angle. I think there's that mental wellness portion, which things that that camaraderie and community and just having a balanced approach and outlook on life and understanding your limitations and your capabilities and feeling confident enough to engage those things and take those action steps. And then finally, there's a spiritual component. All those 3 things together equal wellness to me.
Sure. And it's hard because it takes effort. It's so much easier to. And I've had these days where I'm like, oh man, that couch looks really good. And it's like, sure, you can, but the I always tell my
ridiculous.
patients that
It's
the couch
cut
is one of
up,
the most
chopped
toxic
up,
things in your
and
house
put together
because
however they want
it
to
leads
serve
to
it.
not moving around, not exercising,
And
not
to us, it's
experiencing
not
life.
enough. Like, I
One of
think
the
we
other
wanna
parts of
appease
your
the
mission statement
population by
is
saying, like,
transition
"Look, we're
and
doing
sustainability.
something,
Can you explain
and
that?
we're being transparent." But
Sure.
for
So
us,
really, all of
just
those other four
we're gonna
pillars,
keep pressing
or the other three
senators
pillars that we
to
have,
get the
food
bill on the
insecurities,
president's
housing
desk.
insecurities,
Period.
transitionary services.
You've explained a
Those are all
lot how
kind of
you help
also
other
under the
people.
same
How can
umbrella. And
people
really, the way
help
you want to
you
address those
specifically?
problems is to get upstream from it,
Yeah,
to
so
try to head
what
them
we've
off
done
at the pass so that they never
in the
fully
past years,
manifest.
we developed
Some
a
folks you
program
can't,
called the Word,
reach at
Hope,
that
and
point, so we're going to do what we can
And
on that end.
what we
One of
identified,
our
through our work
most
is that
visible program probably that we
the
have is
veterans
what we call our
suffering
Grunt
from
Style Foundation
pulmonary
deployments.
issues and just
We
all
pick
kinds of issues resulting from toxic
installation
exposure
that is in an
was that
economically
there are,
oppressed area where there's not a lot of
different
opportunity
healthcare
for the service
modalities
member
that will
spouse to
help the
really find
veteran.
gainful employment.
And one
Most
of them,
I remember what it was like to be an E3 and an
specifically
E4
that
with
we've,
a wife and
put
kids, and
funding behind is,
struggling.
well,
What bill
several
am I not
things,
going to
but
pay this month so I can pay
many
the bill I
veterans
didn't
who
pay
are
last month?
impacted just
Kind of a situation. We
cannot
go
have
in
access
and
to
we
an oxygen
try to provide a
concentrator
month's worth
that
of
would give
relief.
them a
So
better
we
quality
just
of
did a
life, that
big
would
event
allow
down
them
in
to go outside with their kids,
Jacksonville, Florida.
travel,
Naval Air
things like
Station
that.
Jax, where we
And so
distributed
we've been
42,000 pounds of food. We brought in an entire
purchasing
tractor trailer
oxygen
through one of our partners, Veterans Hunger
concentrators for
Fund.
those
Big shout
veterans
out to
that
them, just a
have their
wonderful group. They're a
prescription
ministry
getting fluid
based out
through
of
their doctor.
Texas,
We
and they have
provide
affiliates across the country.
scholarships
They
to
donated
buy
an
those
entire tractor trailer worth
concentrators.
of
And
food.
so that's
So we were able to
amazing
give
because
every
it's
family that came
really
through 15 bags
a
of groceries. And
life-changing,
on top of that, we
life-saving
distributed
tool
to all the
that
families that
gives
came
them a
through,
better
which was
quality
around
of life.
300 is what had
And
come through
then
that program. We just did
secondly,
a car and we set up
we
all
have
these
the
stations
hyperbaric
where we just hand
chambers
things into them into
that
their
we are
vehicles as they come
providing
in.
for veterans.
And
We're doing
we've
12
got, in addition to
this
that,
year,
those
along with
groceries, we
the
give
Grunt
them
Style Foundation.
incidental
We're
products,
awarding
everything
12
from cleaning
in-home
supplies, Clorox
oxygen
bleach
chamber tanks
wipes,
for
paper
veterans.
towels, toilet paper.
Those are really cool. I've
If
read some data
if you
on
have
it.
babies, we gave them
It's
with
just
diapers.
interesting.
We
People
supply
tend to
diapers,
feel
everything
really
from
good when you
size
get all
0
of
all
the
the way up to
and
6.
they're not they sound
Infant
scary,
clothes.
but
We have
sometimes
a
it
Grunt
just looks
Style
like
has
a
a
tent
line of
in
clothing
in
called
your house.
Runt
They're not,
Style. If you're not
they're
familiar,
not
the
these
onesies and
massive
baby clothes. They got little
expensive
cute sayings on
structures,
them,
but
backflash
in
area
fact, I
clear,
think a
all
lot
that
of
kind
these
of stuff.
athletes, these amateur athletes,
Kids
have them in their
clothes,
house to,
t-shirts,
I don't know what it
shirts for
does.
mom and
I'm gonna have
dad,
to look
hats,
into that.
we try to load
Um,
them up.
It
Everything
fuels
that
your
you would need for a
body, it
household
fuels
to run for a month
your
or a
health.
point in
Like
time, we
we
want to try to
send
provide it.
several
And
veterans
the intent there
to Dr.
is to
Hendricks
give
in
them room to
Arizona
breathe and maybe
through
catch up on those bills,
Healing
or maybe
Arizona
just
that
whatever it is
treats a
that's
lot
going
of
to impact their life.
SEALs, SF, people
We
with
want
exposure.
to
And I
serve that
promise
end
you that
through
those
that program.
veterans we sent there came
And
back
is
completely,
anyone
addresses the food instability.
different,
well, I was just going to say real
restored.
quickly,
And so
is
what we
anyone,
learned
because
is
me and
that
my wife were talking about this
it'll
last night
heal
with
them,
the formula
but
shortage. We're like, I want to
needed
do
to be
something, but
continuous, like for the
what
rest of
can
their
you do?
life,
It's not
right?
there.
It's not
It's
something
gone.
that,
Like, are you
like
guys
for me,
trying
is that
anything
we
on
would
this?
benefit from like
I know it's kind
60
of really,
dives
really
and then
recent, but
call it, call it.
It is
To them,
recent. I
it's
mean,
for the rest of
that's
their
probably
lives, but it
faster
definitely
of
does improve their
a
quality of life.
program,
So,
a problem that
I know a
is so
veteran
recent that we've not had
has
time
constrictive
to really address
bronchiolitis, and
as a
his
group.
numbers
Now, I am
improved
aware
from
of
being in the chamber.
you're seeing
So we're
social
doing the
media
oxygen
posts and everything talking
concentrators,
about,
we're doing the
here's a
oxygen
baby
therapy, the
formula
hyperbaric
recipe from
chambers,
1960,
and
powdered
then
milk or this and
we just
that.
did a
That's
visit to
probably your best way
bioaccelerator
to
stem cell in
might have
Medellin,
to be.
Colombia,
come at that.
and we're
Yeah, I think
helping
it's,
to
you
put
got to
money
work with what you
behind
have.
that
You
to
go to war with the
get
army, you got
veterans
not the
to
one you
get
want,
treated with
and
stem cell.
it's a
that's certainly where
shame.
we're fighting. I think it's going to
Again,
get
I'm
worse.
not
I think we're in for a
100%,
wild summer.
But listening to and this is where I hope a lot of people paid attention to their grandparents and even their great grandparents. I remember they had my great grandparents had a basement filled with canned goods that they canned, and I used to go down there and be like, "What the hell is all this?" But they used to teach me, and it's one of those things. It's like, yeah, just because the last, I don't know, we'll say someone's 30 years old, but 30 years of their life was perfect doesn't mean hardships can come at any moment. So hopefully people are prepared, and organizations like Grunt Style Foundation, especially with our young, like you said, our young enlisted guys, having to go paycheck to paycheck. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that too. I know a lot of people don't, stop and think about the A1C with a child and a wife could be living at or below the poverty line. I don't know. Is that an accurate statement? at the tip of the iceberg.
It is, and these numbers are crazy.
Hey, one of my favorite ways to
Tiffany, who's
support
not
you
able
guys
to
is
join
to
me
head over to
today,
your
would probably be the better authority to explain this
armpits360.org/shop, and you
portion.
can
But
buy some 22 Sierra
the
coffee.
stat is
And
shocking,
I'm glad that
and
we're
how
working
many
with you.
junior listed,
Yeah,
meaning
you can
E6
also,
and
we do
below
sell that one. It's called
families that
gasoline and
qualify
warfare.
for government
Yeah,
assistance.
yeah,
May
well,
not be
it's
accessible to them because we're in the military, but absent being in the military, they would certainly qualify for food stamps or whatever. And
when everyone
that's
started
the
to buy it,
problem.
they're like,
If you
"Dad, this
have
is some
people
good
that have
coffee."
deployed
I was like,
2, 3,
"Oh
4
yeah,
times
it is."
in support of
yeah,
the
we have some
country,
industry
off
secrets.
fighting wars on the other side of the
Oh my
planet,
God.
and
Yeah,
they've
yeah,
got
and
to worry about being able to put food on the table to take care of their
I've almost
kids while
become
they're
like
gone.
evangelical about the
That's
coffee, and I'll
occupying
send a line
some
and be like,
pretty
hey,
significant
you see
brain
that you're
space
wearing
that should
a
be being
competitor's
utilized on
coffee
putting
shirt or whatever. Have
rounds
you
on
tried
target.
22 Sierra
And
coffee?
that's not happening.
And then
So this is a
I feel
national
silly because
defense
I'm like, it's
issue
really good,
as
and
well.
you know, it being
So I mean,
associated with
it all
22 Sierra,
impacts,
they're
right?
like, okay, you know, yeah.
One
of
thing
course you're gonna say
that never
but no, it
fails to
actually
amaze
is
me about
really good. So,
the GWAT
I'm so
generation,
glad
and when
to
I say that,
partner
I'm
with
not
you,
excluding
and,
other
yeah,
generations,
any help that
obviously.
we can get,
It's just the
you
one
guys
that
are doing
I
fantastic.
really
Look,
have my
I
my
looked, and
sights on
22 minutes seems to
is
always do this. We've doubled our time.
there's so
I
many
apologize.
organizations
I know
out
you're
there.
out
There's
running
so many
errands.
people who said, you know what,
But yeah,
this need isn't being met,
absolutely.
right?
Is
From
there
and it could be
any
any
last place
need,
or any
whether
last
it's
things
mental
you wanna
health or like
say
you
to
guys are
people that
doing with
watching?
food.
I think I
And
just
so
said your
GWAT veterans are
website,
stepping up and saying, okay, I'll meet that need. I'll start a
anything else
VSO.
you wanna
I'll
add?
start a blog that
No, I mean,
talks
look,
about
just
this and
stay
connects people. I'll
tuned
start
on
a
all our
coffee
social
company.
media
I'll start whatever
channels.
it
We
is.
will be
There's no
taking
lack.
some
And I don't
veterans
know
up
if
to
that's
Capitol
unique
Hill here
to
in
our
a few weeks
generation because we have
to,
so much access
as
to
IVA
each
has
other
said it in the
where,
past, they
if
storm
you
the
were
hill.
post World
We'll
War
be
II
up there
vet
with
living in,
all the top,
a
veterans
small town in
organizations,
Missouri, you really
VAB,
wouldn't
American
have
Legion,
these
Reserve,
connections that we all have, but we have them,
Organization of
and it makes me so
America,
proud to see everyone
right?
putting the work
Wounded
in
Warrior
and getting
Project, we're all
stuff
going to be
done.
up there with John and doing a last push for
Absolutely.
this bill.
Yeah,
So
I
call
don't
your
know that
senators.
it's
I don't care
something
who your
unique
senator
to
is,
our
what state you live
generation. It's
in,
all. I mean,
and ask them
I
to
spent a lot of
pass
time in the
honor your
nonprofit
project.
sector
Like
as a consultant,
people's lives
working from
are riding
everything
on
from
this. So
HIV,
that's what
AIDS,
I can
homeless
say.
shelters,
If you want to,
drug and
make
alcohol
an impact
rehabilitation
and
centers,
provide these
Native
life-saving
American reservations,
modalities
religious
for
institutions.
our nation's
One thing
heroes,
I've
you can
learned
go
in those travels is
support us
that
on our
most
website.
all
There's a
nonprofits
link
generally
there.
start around a dining
Awesome.
room table as a good
Yeah, I
idea
think
of
it
like,
went a
hey,
great
wouldn't
way, and
there's a need for
that's
this? Wouldn't it be great
resource that
if that
people
happened?
always
And
overlook. Call and write your
Americans are
senators.
great.
And
We've
I
got
do it a lot. I
that
swear I'm on a list.
good
And I'm probably
heritage
like,
of
oh, here comes
can-do
David again. But it
attitude and
gets.
adventure.
I mean, that's their point.
I think we're a little
The point
more
is they
willing
represent
to do that
you,
just as
and
part of our culture. And
you
so,
have to utilize that representation.
little
to get
tiny
it going.
nonprofits
But yeah, you're
that
absolutely right
start,
with that. I hope you guys do
you
really
can't
well
swing a dead
up in
cat without
Washington.
hitting
Maybe
a
I'll
brand
take
new
a trip up
startup
there.
nonprofit.
When is it?
Now,
Sure.
most of them do not survive 5
We
years.
should be
But
there
within
in
the
about
veteran
2 to
space,
3
I
weeks.
think you're
So
right.
we're definitely going to push the date out
Don't see a whole lot of
with the
veteran
good
specific
notice
oriented
time, so we're not at the
type
last minute, 'cause
programs that are out
we're
there in the
always waiting
volume
on
that what
them
we
to
see
tell us, like,
with the
oh, this
GWAT
is the
era
day we can do
vets. So
it.
I think
And
you
then
probably put your
veterans
finger
were
on it. I
like,
think
hey,
it's
you
that
can let us know. We
technological
really, honestly, they let
connectivity
us
that
know,
we
like, at the
enjoy
last minute. So
that
we
has
All
made
right.
really
that
want to
possible.
mobilize
And then you've
vets
got,
to get there.
in addition to those folks, you've got people like
So yeah, we'll definitely
22
let you
Sierra.
know.
I mean,
We'd
looking
love
for
to
Okay.
be
ways to
there.
partner in with these
Awesome.
groups and add
Well,
value
thank
to
you,
them and
Rosie,
help support
for
them. And
hopping on the show, and I'm looking forward to
donations
working with
going
you
back into
guys
these
through your
programs.
coffee company.
This
Hey, it's
is
an honor.
unique in
Thank you
this
for
era.
having
I mean,
us.
this is
Hey,
not,
take care.
I remember going through graduate
Thank you.
school.
Bye-bye.
It was looking at Tom Shoes models, right? Or
And
whatever
that's
that
the show.
crazy thing was.
I think we're going to try to do
The
these
philanthropic
once a week. We'll take a
entrepreneurism.
look.
That
These
is a thing
schedules
that
are
has
crazy,
probably
and getting
started
people
really in
to
force with the
actually
millennials, coming
commit
online
to
and
a
getting
time
into the
during the week
workforce
is
and being able
pretty
to
tricky, but we're
take
going to do our
leadership roles.
best. We got some. According
As much
to
as what
my
I find
notes
millennials
here, we
annoying,
have
at least more so
a
10 years
really
ago
good
than now,
interview scheduled up.
they've been
We're looking
doing a
forward
lot of
to
good work,
talking
and
with these
we can
people.
learn
So
a lot from them.
stay tuned. Head over to
And their willingness to explore and just put their
22sierracoffeecompany.com, and you
necks on the
can.
line
We
to
have a
do
whole
good.
section that is dedicated
Patrick, what
to
was
our
you
partners.
founded
We're raising,
22
like,
Sierra? I just
Red
came on
Warriors
board
from
a little
Kansas,
later.
Parachute Team,
What
Run
was
Style,
your
and now Burn Pits.
what was
Look
it
at
that made
you say, okay, I want to sell coffee and I want to give back from that to the community? Nonprofit. So head over to 22sierracoffee.com and
it's a little more complex than that, right? So we lost Joseph Kidwell's the other founder, who's not longer with the company, but we lost two friends that we served with at Barksdale Air Force Base to suicide. And it wasn't a thing at the time where it's like, hey, let's start a company that has this mission to give back and try to prevent this. It was more of something that kind of stuck with us. You know, it's like, how did we miss that? Like, and I go back and I'm thinking, like, I used to sit in the desk next to Josh, right? And it's like, I start thinking about the times he would come in upset, and it's like, why didn't I talk to him? You know, why didn't I ask like what was going on? Or after I got back from my deployment and I was in a new shop, why didn't I stay in contact? Or after I separated, why didn't I stay in contact? That sort of thing. So for us, it was, you know, we've always wanted to have a business, right? And um, but how can we have that business have more than just something on the side of a product that says, you know, a portion of all sales benefits veterans or something like that? But how can something be the core of our mission? You know, how can and what's important to us? What are we passionate about to where we can hold true to that? Like no matter what hurdle comes, um, we can focus on making that difference. And that's where the 22 is in our name. For this is, I don't, you know, we can help burn pits, we can help RCPT USA, we could help, you know, whatever VSO, but at the core of it is that 22, which, you know, as everybody knows that's listening, it's just the most common number. It's probably too low now, but it's the most common number associated with veterans that die by suicide each day. And we wanted to take the approach of cause marketing. So many startups, so many veteran-owned companies out there with the low entry barriers of e-commerce are like, hey, I started a business. Let me start running ads. You know, I want to be Grunt style. I want to make these shirts and, you know, take down Grunt style right away. When we started, we're like, we're not going to take down Black Rifle. We're not going to take down Invader. Those aren't competitors to us. How can we make a difference quickly? Because we're not going to do it in the ocean of veteran-owned businesses if we're, you know, just trying to beat everybody, right? So
Right.
it's like, how can we help your organization? Let's co-brand a coffee that you can get to your organization so you can raise money directly for your organization. We started with 22 Too Many, which is probably the most common hashtag, you know, out there for the veteran suicide thing. So that's how we went about it. We had Fight the War Within, doing great things down in Savannah region, which ultimately led to Irreverent Warriors and then Burn Pits and now RCPT USA. And overall, now we have the foundation thing. And it's been, versus trying to just make enough money to give back a portion of sales, it's how can we as a company provide another platform, another revenue source for organizations. And it's not so much a way to give financial value back to these organizations, but more of an education value or a platform value. It's another stream that they can educate more people about their mission. And the way we wanted to do it differently is be upfront. Like, we're giving back at least $1 a bag or $1 per product sold, and we wanted to take it out of our cost of goods sold. So speaking business terms a little bit, we're not looking at, okay, here was our profit for the month, here's our 5% donation. It's, you know, our cost of goods sold for a bag plus $3 for our partner coffee, then we have profit, right? So
Right.
that's how we tried to do it differently. And I think it really gave us credibility and brand awareness within those demographics that care about the missions we care about, because we let organizations kind of promote us, if that makes sense. Like, that cause marketing, it is marketing. So we're creating that brand awareness within a targeted demographic of people who care about the veteran suicide epidemic, who care about the toxic exposure, who care about needing more of a community thing. There's so much awareness out there for these things.
Sure.
Maybe not with the burn pits. That's relatively new to us even. But the suicide, the 22 a day, we don't need more awareness of that within the veteran community. And I'll say the unpopular opinion: those who are starting these VSOs just for like the awareness piece, I don't think are truly helping. There's enough awareness. Awareness should be for the civilians, you know, not for veterans. How can we help veterans? And that's why we've made partnership changes to focus on those who are in the preventative space. Irreverent Warriors on a daily basis has dozens of Facebook groups for local communities where those veterans that went to a hike can stay connected with other veterans. They have a peer network. They have their, regular events, and then they have that big Silkies hike every year for that location. And they're saving lives through that
Sure.
peer network with people that understand each other, understand the struggles. They've been through the struggles. Some of them have overcome them. Some of them have been through the same thing and need help. But what I really respect about Irreverent Warriors is they're like, but hey, if you need more help, we'll connect you with somebody. We'll connect you to Stop Soldier Suicide. We'll connect you to somebody else who can provide you more than what we need. We're here for you, and we can talk to you because we can relate. But that's what I like. They're not trying to be that all-in-one, they're not a crisis center. They're not therapy, clinical therapy. It is therapy. We'll tell you that. But, and you've been to hikes as well. But I think that's how it started is there's so many companies who are saying we donate a portion of sales, we donate 5% of sales. But what are they doing as a mission for their company to prevent suicide or improve the post-service health or whatever? And I think that's where we try to be different, is saying this is what we are and this is how we do it up front, rather than just that vague portion of sales thing. So.
Sure. And to bring it full circle, what you mentioned is that whole theory of here's the catalyst, here's the driver, right? Whether, and it's unfortunately usually tragedy, and you have two choices of what you can do. And you're right, you can talk about it or you can do something about it. And I think a lot of people, and I talk to a lot of people that want to start blogs and podcasts, and they say, but I got to build an audience. I might reach one person, I might reach two. You don't, and you said this too, you don't go in to take down Joe Rogan or Grunt Style or Black Rifle. That's not your purpose. Your purpose is to start with reaching one person, measure it by inches. Awesome. You reach one person, try two people. Okay, what worked, what didn't work? Now let's go to 5, right? Now and that's how Irreverent Warrior starts. That's how everything always starts. And give it time. If it doesn't work, then make adjustments and go from there. Will, if someone's listening to this right now and they're like, that hyperbaric oxygen therapy, we call it HBOT. It's a lot easier. I want to try HBOT. How can they get in touch with Grunt Style? How can they become part of that program?
Well, we're doing it's kind of an insular thing for this first year. We were working this program in partnership with Burn Pits 360. So basically, Burn Pits 360 is providing 6, Grunt Style's providing 6.
Okay.
What we're pretty well networked into that larger group. We had 12 folks identified, pretty much off the bat, of who could immediately benefit from these things. So that's that current project. Now, as we build funds in support of this, I want to give away thousands of HBOTs. I've got a great partnership with Newtown Hyperbaric. I get them at a discounted rate. For roughly $7,000, I can buy a hyperbaric unit to a veteran that's in need. So as we raise more funds, we will be able to give more of these away. Next year, what we hope to do is during 2022, as we give away these 12, we're going to be able to shine a light on that, leverage that for fundraising to support that program, to purchase more hyperbarics, and then make it an application process. And so the way this is going to look is hopefully in 2023, there will be an intake section. Burn Pits 360 has an absolute stellar medical science advisory board. And so those that come in, those applications that come in, they'll be screened. Those that make it to the next round, it'll go into a determination process between the Burn Pits 360 board and the Grunt Style Foundation board, and then we would notify those that have been selected to be recipients of this. So any donations that we can receive in that's restricted to that end, that's exactly what they're going to go for. And people can help that effort by donating today. You can go to gruntstylefoundation.org and click the donate button, and any contribution is tax deductible, and we'll put it to very good use.
That's cool. What about like the other services you guys have too? So say I'm a E3 and just had twins, right? How can I receive assistance from Grunt Style Foundation?
Well, if you're in one of the areas where we're doing these Grunt Style Foundation deployments, all you have to do is go on our Eventbrite or Sign Up Genius format, depending on where the event is and who our partners are in that area, and sign up. And if you're one of those 300 people that we have slots, we have enough to do 300 at a go. You're more than welcome to come in. We have our next deployment coming up will be at Joint Base San Antonio in June, around June 19th. That time frame. I think that date may be a little bit flexible right now, but I think it's what we're targeting. So that you'll see some content coming out here in the next couple of weeks with those dates and locations for that area. Around August 21st, I believe, is the targeted date. We'll be at Fort Gordon, Georgia, doing this same deployment. That'll actually be on Fort Gordon itself. Then we've got two more in the chute right now that's not prime time ready, but they're cooking. We've got one at Colorado Springs, Colorado, and we have one coming up in Las Vegas, Nevada. So that is the rotation that we have for the remainder of 2022. So if you are someone, a service member, active duty, National Guard, reserves, even a veteran, we're not going to turn anybody away. Because after we did this last one in Jacksonville Beach, we had, oh my gosh, I can't tell you how much product we gave to local charities, to the USO and the VFW hall there specifically to pick up what we did not distribute. So we're not going to turn anybody away that's coming in. If you're capped over that 300, show up anyway. We'll probably give something.
That's great. And it's gruntstylefoundation.org. Is that right?
That's correct. Gruntstylefoundation.org.
Cool. Patrick, do you have any last minute things you want to mention about 22 Sierra?
No, like was originally intended with this, let Will talk about the foundation, and we just try to extend whatever platform or reach we have to let others come on and talk. So the only other thing I would have, I guess, as a question for Will and the foundation would be, you can donate there. How can people get involved and volunteer? Is there a way to host or be a part of the foundation as a volunteer?
In terms of our two programs, keep in mind we've only been alive since April of last year, so we just hit our first year, and we're transferring. We were a private foundation model all the way up until December, which is just to say that we were providing money to other nonprofits in support of their work. Since I've come on board in December, we've shifted focus more to a public charity model where we are providing our own programs, and we are standing up those programs, and we have to fundraise for those programs to make them go. Grunt Style gives us a very generous endowment every year to make this work happen. But that really covers the overhead and everything that goes on in running a business, as you know. So all the donations that we receive come in; those go towards the programmatic end. If you want to volunteer, and we have an event that's happening in your area, and you want to participate in whatever way, we would love to have you. Send us a message on Instagram or on Facebook. We have a very small following on both. We're still brand new setting up those platforms. Those have only been online for maybe a month and a half at this point, if that. But we certainly invite you to come in. We've got some new things coming out that hopefully will generate traffic as we build our audience. But just shoot us a direct message or send me an email. My email address is will.wisner, WISNER, @gruntstyle.com. And we will certainly plug in and let you know what's coming on in your area, or if you want to come out and join us at a different location, we'd love to have you on that as well. So any opportunities of anything that we have going on, we always need volunteers, and so we would be more than happy to work with you.
Awesome. You guys, I didn't realize how broad a scope Grunt Style Foundation really is. It's truly amazing. I'm going to shoot you an email when I get a chance today, because all those, I work in healthcare. So all that stuff you talked about, I went through my own transition of here's pills. You're being crazy if you're meditating, to completely the opposite. I made a complete 360. I guess that works, but then 180. I did a complete 180. Yeah. But yeah, amazing stuff. Well, that's all we have for this week. Thank you, Will, for taking your time to speak with us, and we'll do this again because 1 year you're only going to grow from here, for sure.
Oh yeah, we're the places we're going to go are. This is the coolest thing about Grunt Style, and this is why I agreed. They asked me back in October to come on and take this on. I had a good relationship with them from the Burn Pits 360 side, but when they asked me, would you consider coming in and taking this thing on and running it? That was a no-brainer. These guys walk their talk. Grunt Style walks their talk. They are patriotic. They are. Everything they project as an outward-facing image, it's legit. It is real, and it's only going to get more aggressive and more outside the box. That's where our greatest strength is. Everything we're trying to engage, we're trying to come at it from different ways, things that haven't been done before. To help the political games and all that stuff that goes on in the nonprofit world. We are here to lift up our brothers and sisters, our veterans, and our warfighting community. That is my mission. It's a personal mission, and everybody that's involved from our side is equally as committed. So it is not a joke, and we want to be the cavalry that's riding in. So
fantastic.
Come join us.
I can't think of a better way to end it than that.
I can't either.
All right. So thanks, guys, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks.
All right.
Will.
Take care, all. Thanks for having me.